was efforts. We didn't think that they were adequate. National government was able to provide monies that to a greater extent than any municipality could, and we didn't think they were providing enough, which they were able to provide if they wanted to. On the other hand, there was an extremely able physician in charge of HIV and AIDS and the development of treatment, and that was Dr. Fauci. And he was superb, and he's still around with the National Institute of Health.
NIH. Okay, so I'm gonna shift topics a little bit. What about the low-income housing? During your era, you know, it was very dominant that low-income people, they usually didn't have housing. So
that's not true.
That's not
the
true.
City of New York has a housing authority, New York City Housing Authority, which houses 600,000 people. Long before I became mayor, and it was there when I became mayor. In addition, my administration created a housing program,
right,
a 10-year housing program, which was financed by city bonds to the extent of $5,100,000,000, which built and rehabilitated over 180,000 apartments. We believe that the total number, if you included apartments on which we would spend $5,000 to $25,000 while the tenants were in possession to paint and to refit the kitchen and so forth, it would be about 250,000 apartments. But with respect to taking a vacant apartment and rehabilitating it or building a new apartment, the New York University commissioned a book which ultimately said that we had done a minimum of 180,000 new apartments for people, overwhelmingly poor people and others who were of moderate income, and also set aside apartments for people who didn't pay any rent, were on welfare, and the city paid the rent for them, so it went from one pocket to another.
Yes.
And also we had special housing for people with AIDS, so as to help them. So, what else?
Okay, we got that done. How would you describe the health sector? I'm talking about hospitals and everything together combined. When you first entered as mayor, and then finally when you compare it to as when you left as mayor.
Well, the city had at that time, I believe, I think 17 municipal hospitals. No other city in the country had more than one municipal hospital.
Okay.
Municipal hospital meaning a hospital totally paid for by the city.
Right.
I believe that we closed one that was scheduled to be closed, maybe more than one, maybe two, and we opened one that had been closed, never opened. It's a new hospital, Woodhall, that was built during the Lindsay years, but he didn't open it. We opened it.
Okay.
The state of New York believed that we had too many hospital beds. Remember, our population went down from 8 million to 7 million. 1 million less people.
Do you remember exactly what year that was when the population decreased?
when the population went down.
Yes.
It went down before I became mayor,
Before. Okay.
and under Beam.
Uh-huh.
And as a result of the fiscal crisis occurred in 73, 74, 75,
Right.
so people were moving out of town.
Okay. What about afterwards? I mean.
What about afterwards?
I mean, like the health sector.
Well, we had, I can't tell you statistically what the facts were with respect to health. I would urge that you read Steve Joseph's book.
Okay.
But we had two superb commissioners of health. First one was Dr. Sensor, the second was Steve Joseph.
Okay, so I'll get the book. And how would you, I guess, answer some of the criticism that that was against you regarding your actions or what you did
Sure.
for the HIV
I would answer them in the following way. Once again, urge you to read the book
I will do that.
LaGuardia put out.
Okay.
That's an archive
Okay.
using city records.
Okay.
And the answer is this. Every constituency, including the constituency in support of treatment for AIDS patients and those with HIV,
Right.
believed that they were sacrosanct and that the city had to fund them to a greater extent than any other agency. That was the people who were interested in education, the people who were considering mass transit. There are 50 different agencies in the city, and they all have to be funded.
Right.
And they can't all be funded in the same way they were before. That takes a matter of judgment
Mm-hmm.
as to which one you can take more money away from and which ones you take less money away from.
Right.
And I believe that we handle it fairly. But the advocates of any particular area of need would never agree that we handle it fairly, would always say, take from the others, don't take from us. It's not possible.
Okay.
It is simply not possible to do it that way. You have to treat fairly, not equally, fairly, each sector of our society. And I believe that with respect to the medical area, and in particular HIV and AIDS, as you will look at and see from the book that the LaGuardia Library
Yes.
put together, that we treated that sector very fairly.
Okay. And finally, looking back now, if you could, do it all over again, would you do anything differently in regards to the crisis?
What is interesting when you ask that question, I'm not a doctor, so I have to do what the doctors tell me to do.
Okay.
And in my case, I had two superb doctors following one another as commissioners of health.
Mm-hmm.
I did what they told me.
Okay.
And one of the things that we're very proud of is that there was great fear of sitting next to someone who had AIDS, a foolish fear, because it's not spread by the air
Right.
or touching.
Right.
Spread by exchanging bodily fluids.
Right.
And there was an effort to keep children who had HIV or AIDS, as some did as a result, in many cases, of blood transfusions, because
Right.
they didn't have that under control early on.
Right.
And it was spread that way. And we took a case to court where we won.
Mm-hmm.
The Corporation Counsel himself, Fritz Schwartz, tried the case and got a court order that set aside a Board of Education rule in Queens County barring a youngster from school because the youngster had HIV or AIDS or both. And that's one of the proudest achievements of my administration.
Okay.